From Chesapeake, Virginia, the Lighthouse 100.1 presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Now here is Greg Bicouvaris.
Sports Scene presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Sports Scene midweek online and Saturday on the radio on WPMH AM 1010, 100.1 FM, and TuneIn.com by typing WPMH in the search bar. Greg Bicouvaris along with Colleen. Tell your friends about Sports Scene. Twitter at Greg Bick, and you can see the rest of my Twitter handles on gjbtv.com in the contact section. Thank you to our military for what you do 24/7. Guest lineup presented by gjbtv.com. Phone line presented by the Newport News Creek Festival Drive-Thru Edition, August 28th through August 30th. For more, log on to newportnewscreekfestival.org. GJBTV.com 24/7. Major League Baseball finally starting. Great interviews, excellent guests, business segments, highlights, commentary. What teased me off. Thank you for listening to Sports Scene. We love our regulars and tourists who listen online and on the radio. Stay tuned. I want to thank Brian Hogg and the James River Country Club in Newport News for hosting my mother's Invitational Tennis Tournament, the 20th annual. Give them a call at 595-3327. Excellent tennis courts, swimming pool, golf course. Brian Hogg and Company, great restaurants right there. It's private, but it's great. James River Country Club in Newport News, a legacy for decades.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris in the HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com studios.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. Glad you're with us. Greg Bicouvaris every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 right here with Keith Krockett of Pro Wrestling Mid-Atlantic. Keith, good to see you. You've been on Sports Highlights and Sports Scene before. Always a pleasure.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for having me back.
Very good. It's a different world we're living in now, Keith.
It's been a different world from time and time again, but it's just getting a little more creepier.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, how has COVID affected your life business-wise with your kid and also your day-to-day operations with wrestling?
Well, I mean, the day-to-day operations for wrestling has all been put on a halt. You can't have any gatherings of 250 more people, and it's not worth putting an event on if you can't even get, 500 to 1,000 into a building in certain areas. And that's just the demographic of it all. But the wrestling's all on hold still. We've gone from phase 1 to phase 2. Now we're holding at phase 2. Now some cities and states are going back to phase 1. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. But, I just think that, everything's going to be in a whole different, atmosphere of how it's going to be dealt with as far as sports goes in the future.
And even phase 3 for Virginia as well. But it just seems like you said, it's just going back in reverse because people are, during the winter, they're all cooped in. Now it's summertime, but they're realizing that mass gatherings just are not working right now.
I mean, it's just hard to tell. I mean, this thing is still in its infancy. So, you just don't know right now. So, everything's still new about it. They're trying to figure it out. They're trying to see if masks work or don't work. I'm not a doctor, so I'm just going off, some of the news reports and things that I've heard, over the past months is, some say it's effective, some say it's not effective, some say it's necessary, some say it's unnecessary. Some stores want it, some stores don't. Who knows? I mean, I just say it's better to wear it for right now, and let's just be cautious.
Absolutely. Talking to Keith Krockett from Pro Wrestling Mid-Atlantic. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. Sports Scene every Saturday morning from 10 to 11. Tell your friends at Greg Bick on Twitter. Before we start talking to wrestling, both of us do scrapping, and I'm very intrigued by it. I started off by just doing cans. I had no idea. Then I started seeing these guys bringing wire and metal, and had no idea that copper paid anything. And then you learn the terminology like number 1 wire, number 2 wire. Number 1 wire pays more. Aluminum pays more. Then you got, HMS. I mean, these are all different terminologies for scrapping. YouTube has got all types of people that go scrapping. It's nuts when you're driving down the road nonchalantly, even in your neighborhood, on a Sunday afternoon, and you see a pile of scrap. So explain to me the scrap world and how it all works.
Well, it's got different names. You're calling it scraps. Let's clarify a little bit. That would be recycling. Taking things of metal value, of metal content, and turn it into a little bit of money. It's really not paying a lot of money at the very moment. Scrap metal business, or the recycling business, as we would call it, would be steel, aluminum, copper, wires, aluminum cans,
HMS.
refrigerator. Yeah, there's a whole cars, automobiles. There's a whole long list of things that you can recycle that will bring you a few dollars here and there. Right now, it's really not paying much. Light end steel is like 4 cents a pound. Heavy end steel is about a nickel a pound. So you really got to bring a lot through the doors. So, but yeah, correct. You know, you're going down the street, you see some things, refrigerators, washing machines, dryers. You know, that you don't know if they work or not, but they're still worth a little bit of money. And even on the steel side, you know, the average dryer weighs about 100 pounds, and the average washing machine weighs about 225. So if you times that by, you know, a nickel or 4 cents, you know, you can be about $8 to $10 for something like that. But, you know, hey, look, $8 or $10, like if it was blowing down the street, would you pick it up?
Absolutely. And, you know, it's amazing that anybody can do it. It starts off with cans, but then you really evolve if you want to make some extra money. I mean, you can drive down, let's say, Greenbrier Parkway and run into a bunch of copper one day, and just on the side of the road. Now, sometimes you got to be careful when you pick it up, though.
Oh, you got to be careful about picking up anything because you just don't know if it's actually there for you to be picking up or if it's free or not. But the thing about it is, that scenario would be great, but more than likely you're not going to really run up on a big load of copper, but you will run up on your average light steel pile, something we call dirty aluminum, which has about a 50-50 mix on steel and aluminum. That's why they call it dirty aluminum. So you get like 4 cents on the steel, about 7 to 9 cents on the dirty aluminum. Those are your more common metals you're going to find out on the road, like Greg's talking about. Of course, you know, you can get more involved in things when you pick up refrigerators and things of that nature that has copper and coils and compressors and things of wire, and you can separate all those things and then you put them in different buckets, and you have to make sure they meet the standards and the satisfying code of the scrapyard. So, you know, you can get a little bit more money from there, and all the ranges of price right now go from 4 cents a pound to the average price at the scrapyard for some copper clean is about, you know, $2.
Talking to Keith Krockett. This segment is brought to you by CP Shuckers, locals tradition on Shore Drive, Pacific Avenue. Delicious food, great appetizers like steak bites, great menu, summer season specials. It's summer, of course. Go by and watch NASCAR, sandwiches, burgers, all the games on TV. Go by and see Matt, Mark, and Chef Leon. CP Shuckers, like them on Facebook. Talking to Keith Krockett. But it's great, like you said, extra cash right now is always good, and it's so fun to pick it up. You feel like you've accomplished something, but at the same time, it's going to take some wear and tear on your car as well.
Well, you know, it depends on what vehicle you have. Again, you know, if you want to be a lawn, if you want to do lawns, you know, you don't want to try and have a little, you know, Honda Accord and put your mower in the back and your trimmer. You know, you want to get a truck and a trailer. Same thing with this business. If you run it like a business, you got to work it like a business. If you're going to work it like a hobby or just pick up a few items here nonchalantly down the road, you know, and you got the average Honda Accord or, you know, the little car or something like that. Yeah, you know, you're not going to really be able to put a refrigerator inside there or a washing machine per se. But, you know, you're going to be limited to what you can pick up. But you still can't pick up like that. You know, gold doesn't have to be in a big quantity, and same things with certain things you may find out here in the recycling world. It could be something a very small item like batteries, again, car batteries or something that, you know, you can turn in and get a few dollars for. They pay about 30 cents a pound, and you know, you have aluminum rims and tires and things, and there's all kinds of little things you can make money on. But not only that, you know, he's talking about those that being on the street, but really these are items you might have at your home. You know, your garage is cluttered, your attic is cluttered, your backyard is cluttered. You know, you put a few things to the side and say, hey, I'll get to this sooner or later, and it starts piling up. You know, you can get rid of some of those things, make a few extra dollars, or you can call me at 870-6954, and I'll come out and pick them up for free.
Yeah, not to mention, too, it starts with your house, pots and pans. It could start anywhere, and that's how you get the hobby, and it really is becoming addicting. Then you start looking on different websites for scrap, and, of course, it's fun. You can't do it 24/7. There are people that do it 24/7. They don't take a day off, but the scrap yards have all affected their hours by this COVID as well, so you got to watch their hours too. But it's funny, as a man in life in general, when you go to the scrapyard, you've been around wrestlers, you've been around some up and down characters, Keith, and you can see the same type characters with their personalities that are different at the scrapyard. The biggest thing I've noticed at the scrapyard is patience. It seems like everybody is in a rush from the minute they go there. They all are hot and sweaty. They got to go to the restroom. A lot of them have attitudes. I'm just being honest. A lot, you know, parking is a big deal too, unless you're going to one of the big scrap yards. But it's like anything else. Depending on what scale you go to, there's usually a wait sometimes, especially early in the morning on a Monday or Friday.
Well, you got to remember the scrap yard's only open about 8 hours. Okay, and so those 8 hours, and it used to be, and I go to a scrapyard in Norfolk off Princess Anne Road, Empire Scrapyard, which is probably one of the best scrapyards in town. So I go there because they used to be open Monday through Saturday, and they would take some items like refrigerators and dishwashers and a few other items at some other scrapyards. Won't all scrapyards varying with the items that they'll take and how they take them in what condition. So I would go there, and they were open Monday through Saturday. But during COVID, they've scaled back, and they're not open up on Saturdays anymore. And so now they're open Monday through Friday. And what Greg's talking about is the hurry, the patience, and things of that nature. We've got to remember, this business is about time and money and everything, too. People have time, money, and energy invested in their vehicles. They're picking up scrap. They're turning it over. And you got to do if you're going to do it as a business, you got to do it in volume, just like the scrapyard does. You got to do it in volume. So when you're doing those things, you can put it through the door a little bit more, but you got to have the right equipment, you got to have the right tools, and it's a good little business. It's just, I don't care what business it is, whether you're in the wrestling business, the radio business, or your recycling business. If you're not dedicated to it and you don't run it like a business and you don't work it, you're not going to get anything out of it.
You got to be organized. Like I have my own advertising agency, gjbtv.com. We do radio, we do TV, we do billboards, we do print, we do everything. I started off just being interested in sports, but there's a lot more to sports. And right now, not many people really care about sports right now. Sports is really on the down low because they're all greedy, the baseball players, and really football has got issues. But I don't see anybody at the beach swimming in the water saying, I can't wait for sports right now. People have gone about their lives, Keith.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do? You don't put life on hold, and that's the thing about life. No matter what happens, this is going to keep going on and moving on every day. And basically, when it's come down to sports right now, I mean, it's really I don't want to see half seasons. I don't want to see half of anything. I want to see the whole thing. And without the fans, you're missing part of the game that keeps the game honest. Like, I really don't like the fact that NBA teams will be playing, just the cameras and the few people that are in the arena at the time, because the fans keep the referees honest. Just like in baseball, if the referee makes a bad call, the fans keep them honest. And so with all these terms in sports and some of these rules, like in baseball, I can't stand right now. I mean, I go down the list, I can't even stand it. I don't want to see half seasons. I don't want to see it reinvented. Okay, it never has needed to be reinvented. The reason why I got to this point so far is because it was so great, and people keep messing with it. What's going to happen with it? It's eventually going to be messed with so much nobody's going to care about it. And that's what may happen right here, because people have gotten on with their lives. Bicycle sales are out of the roof right now. Trampoline sales are out of the roof right now. Weights, anything to do with outside, lawnmowers, anything to do with outside, running shoes, things of that nature. Why? What's happened? Well, Greg, like you said, people moved on with their lives. Of course they have, just like they've done here. Where they went home, and instead of sitting down behind the computer or picking up the phone, which they're probably still doing, they're going outside and going for a walk. They're going for a bike ride. They're interacting with their kids on a different level now. You asked me earlier how has it affected me with my son. Well, he just graduated. We didn't have the traditional graduation. I was upset about that. I thought they could have done something on a football field with some masks, but that's another day, another story. But the whole bottom line, he's going on to to VMI. He's graduated high school. He's going to college, but he had to stay home. He had to do some classes online, and so interrupted his schedule, his graduation, his prom. He lost all those things to whatever this COVID thing is actually, because I have my questions about it.
Yeah, it really is mysterious, but health is number one, no matter what COVID is, whether it's the flu season or not. One thing that's really nice is we've all gotten to wash our hands more. We've all using hand sanitizer. We're using alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, so we all got to be proactive about our health. I think that's really good. I think a lot of people are leery about going out to eat. Grocery stores are dominating restaurants. You see a lot of people moaning and groaning on Facebook that nobody's going there. But, it comes down to, crowds and gatherings. Even if it was not going on with COVID, you kind of want to avoid big crowds anyway. I mean,
I'm going to kind of disagree with you at the moment, because
we can agree to disagree.
No, that's exactly. I mean, that's why I'm here. That's the thing about it. I think it's something we got to take cautious with. But the bottom line is, this isn't our first rodeo. This isn't the first time we went to the barbershop to get a haircut on things like this in life and in the history of life. So what I'm thinking is, we need to be cautious. But I've been to plenty of restaurants I've eaten at. I mean, I know you don't want me to tell you the names of them all, but I've eaten plenty of them here lately. And
same here.
I think, as far as washing the hands and using the hand sanitizer, I mean, weren't we supposed to be doing that before this? Because I think we should have been doing that anyway.
Always.
Because I was, and so since I was, and I'm thinking, hey, we should have been doing that anyway. I really think that we just got to be cautious. It's better to be cautious than to overshoot this thing. But I think. Really, we really need to get on with life with this thing. I mean, there's other things we can compare it to. Apples don't compare to oranges, but we got to move on.
All right, Sports Scene will move on too. We'll take a break, come back with part 2 with Keith Crockett. We're talking sports, we're talking scrap. We'll be talking some wrestling here in the second segment. Stay tuned. The Newport News Greek Festival will take place August 28th through August 30th on the grounds of Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church. The entire event will be a drive-through edition, and we appreciate your continued support. Eat, drink, and celebrate authentic Greek culture on the peninsula. Celebrating a taste of Greece in Newport News with our drive-through. For more, log on to newportnewsgreekfestival.org. Opa!
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. Greg Bicouvaris along with Keith Crockett. Glad you're with us. Keith has been on Sports Scene and Sports Highlights before. Always a pleasure. Keith, of course, I knew you when you worked at Christopher Newport, but then you evolved into wrestling. Let's talk about how you got involved into wrestling. And you've had a lot of big events over the years, but like you said, COVID has kind of superseded. Will it ever get back to the same, you think?
I don't know. I mean, not anytime soon, it doesn't look like. I mean, to plan out a wrestling year and shows and things, just like if you're the WWE, I mean, he has to put, crews and people on the road. He has to book buildings. He has to book the travel. So, as of right now, everything's still on hold. And we just don't know how things are going to move forward. And, even in the independent industry where I'm at, you can't book a building that has 500 or more people in it, so you really can't make any money, or you can't have a really good crowd.
Exactly. Talking to Keith Crockett. And, wrestling, of course, has an legion of fans. What is the future of WWE, in your opinion? And, of course, McMahon tried that XFL, kind of got intercepted by the COVID again. 2 times he's done it. It's failed both times. And that's kind of rare for a guy that has been so successful in television and wrestling.
Well, I thought the XFL started out pretty well, to be honest with you. I mean, I was kind of entertained by it. And, I mean, I was looking forward to the season. And actually, a lot of people were. I mean, if you looked in the stands, they did a good job of, getting the crowds, put together so it didn't look like there was empty seats and things of that nature. And I thought it was going to be a good product and maybe, be a subsidy to the NFL, because I think the NFL already picked up a couple people, Greg, and I know you probably would know this better than me, but I think the NFL picked up a few people already off this. And I thought it could be like a farm system for the NFL. And I just think with Vince, it's kind of like this, this was his passion. And I think you won't see him do it again only because of his age factor, because it took him like 3 years to put this together again, okay, to do it correctly, only to have it to fail. And he's not a guy who takes failure, okay?
Or patience.
And he might be able to pull it off again, but it's going to be another 2 to 3 years because he's going to have to book these buildings, and it's a fiasco. Now you got to remember, let's just take one building like the Scope, okay, and it's booked. And then all of a sudden it's not booked. And those things that didn't get booked and got to go to the rear are still in front of things that may still go down in 2 months, and that's where the Scope will pick up their bookings, and you're actually looking at another 2 or 3 years because there's other people that got it booked in front. I mean, so he's actually lost a lot of position. But here's the thing about Vince, through the grapevine I've heard all these years, he's actually happy that he doesn't have to go out and play in front of an audience, in front of a live crowd at all these arenas now. That's what he wanted to do a long time ago. I heard that years ago from a lot of inside sources in the pro wrestling. He wanted to do exactly what he's doing right now. Look how he did this WrestleMania, where they had like a movie segment between The Undertaker and AJ Styles. It wasn't like a live match in the ring or a live match in front of a few jabronis in the studio. It was actually, a movie made in 20 minutes. And if you can go on YouTube and watch it, let me tell you something, it's gotten, grave reviews, and it's gotten some bad reviews. But here's what the thing about it is, Vince is into producing entertainment, and that's whether it's movies, because that's what the WWE has moved into, or it's wrestling. And right now, he's enjoying this move, and he's making money. He's saving money too. People got mad, Greg, recently. The WWE cut a whole lot of people. Well, they don't need a lot of people on their staff. They were all dead weight. Okay, and they're not on the road all the time. When you're on the road, you need more people. People get hurt. You got to have people to fill in. You got people that don't make the travel. You got all kinds of, variables. But, the WWE's not going anywhere. Impact Wrestling, they'll probably fold. Ring of Honor, they'll probably fold. AEW with Cody Rhodes is really looking good. He's got to get in there and fine-tune some stuff. Hopefully he doesn't listen to a bunch of these old dinosaur wrestling, old geezers, because they always got this opinion, and it's, outdated.
Yeah, and exactly. This whole COVID has really just stalled everything. Sports has changed, but wrestling is entertainment. It takes your mind off of things. Churches are being affected, restaurants are being affected, life is being affected. But you know what? You keep your good attitude and have faith. All good things will happen. Back with Keith Krockett here, talking more wrestling and everything else. Keith, when you talk about, we mentioned wrestling as far as entertainment, but like any other thing, sports right now, we talked about, who knows what the NFL is going to look like. College football, Clemson, the university, they've been inundated with the COVID. So these college kids, how can you predict travel? It's just a lot of unknown.
I mean, still, you're talking about college football. It's supposed to it should be underway right now as far as conditioning, training, getting ready for their season. And, again, Greg, I can't even begin to tell you or begin to pick up the pieces of where it could possibly be right now. But, these guys are going to have to really work hard to get in a season right now. I mean, they might even be missing part of their season, if not all of it. I mean, it's going to affect that too.
Yep. Outback Steakhouse, Mike and the staff, spacious, nice dining area, bar, lunch, and dinner daily, right there in Kempsville. Burgers, steaks, soups, salads, appetizers, seafood, pasta, chicken, ribs, chops. They have it all. Great desserts. Open 7 days a week. They are now open for the public. Of course, curbside takeout delivery as well. Download the Outback app. Like them on Facebook. Give them a call at 523-4832. Go by and see Mike and the friendly staff at Outback in Kempsville. You'll be glad you did. And that's another thing, too. I mentioned Virginia Beach. I grew up in Newport News, went to Virginia Beach every weekend as a kid. It still seems like no matter what year it is, and I go on both sides of the water 3 or 4 days a week, that the biggest roadblock in this area is the peninsula of the south side. You've seen it both. Some have their pros, some have their cons. We're not even talking Suffolk, Smithfield, Emporia. That's more out in the country, out in Franklin, that area. But it seems like business and commerce is being affected to this date by Peninsula and Southside. You've been in both places.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's like something about either the Modern Merrimack or the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. It's got a magnet. Either wants to keep you from going to one side or the other.
Subscribe,
and it's
right?
and it's like not even 5 miles, and it's like torture. Oh, am I going to make it through the tunnel? Do I want to go through the tunnel? I can't make up my mind. So, yeah, I mean, it's really affected things. But again, I mean, sports-wise, look what we're missing out on again. We're missing out on the Tides over here in Norfolk.
Oh, they're done for the summer.
We're missing out on the Peninsula's team over in Peninsula because they were a lot of fun to go to also. It's like single A or high school ball between single A, but I mean, they do a great job over there. Yep. We're missing out on all the events coming to the Hampton Coliseum, no matter what it is. All the events coming to the Scope
Concerts in Virginia Beach.
Amphitheater. You missed Atlanta Morissette this year. You missed a ton of huge names that haven't done anything in such a long time. She never even did the Simple Little Pill tour, and she's doing it like a tour 15 years later off an album she did. I mean, that was selling out everywhere. People wanted to see her. I'm saying that's just one apple on top of the whole bunch.
And the Portsmouth facility was closed last year. Now they're closed.
I mean, they might as well close it. That thing might as well just be condemned. Okay, it's done. Put a fork in it.
What a great place that was. I loved it for concerts. We
it was
Ocean
good.
Breeze, Busch Gardens. You can keep going on. It's dense.
I had season passes. Me and my son and some friends, we would go to the Outer Banks water park. Okay, and that was a really nice place down towards the Outer Banks. Now, I'm just going to use this as an example. What kind of hit are they taking? They just opened up 3 years ago, brand new. Although they have water parks elsewhere, those water parks aren't operating either. So, therefore, they've got some payments that are probably going to be, behind on because they're a new business.
In my opinion, the best place is to be outdoors, but still, like Dr. Fauci says, practice social distancing. You have to do it. I mean, if you're dating somebody, there is no social distancing there. But anyway, it is what it is. Talking to Keith Krockett. Glad you're with us. Of course, brought to you by our good friends at gjbtv.com. Give them a call at 757-291-4234. Pat, we're talking a lot of different topics here today with Keith, politics. This will be an interesting presidential election, too. Let's not going to say who we endorse or not, but let the best man win. It's competition still, one-on-one. It's kind of like wrestling or tennis. I love the one-on-one competition. Trump beat Clinton. This will be very interesting. I'll say this about Biden, whether you like him or not. The guy can't remember what he did yesterday. So how the heck is he going to lead a country for 4 years and well into his 80s at that point? That's the thing I'm concerned about. He could be a Republican. I'd say the same thing.
Well, I'm into talent, and I'm into recognizing talent. And I'm not going to tell you which side I'm working on. But if you look at talent, okay, I have to say for the Democratic side, if that's the best you can do, you're in trouble. Because it's almost looking at like when I see Joe Biden carrying on a conversation, or I don't know who his plastic surgeon was, okay, but I think I'm looking at Fire Marshal Bill off the old Living Color TV show with Jim Carrey used to go because he's such a character that's like beyond what's going on in the world right now. I mean, he's in another dimension, and I just think we need change like that's going on right now, but not to the degree of some of the things that are going on. But the change we really need is in politics. Some of these 30 and 40-year career politicians, they've got to go. And some of these people that are getting up to be like 70 and 80 years old and want to be president of the United States, I don't think that they're on the same page as what the rest of America really wants to be, and their ideas and values are become a little old and distorted. So I think that's why you're seeing a little bit of an uproar right now. But Joe Biden just can't hit the curveball anymore.
He is not mentally fit. If he would have ran, it would have been 4 years ago, but Clinton ran, she failed. But you want somebody physically and mentally fit. They talk about it all the time. Trump has got a lot of endurance and stamina. You might not like him, but he's got the energy. He never seems tired. He'll go from East Coast to West Coast, to one part of the world to another. Again, I'm not endorsing anybody, but let's just take to him with mental stamina. There's no competition. If this was a wrestling match, Trump would pin Biden in the first round.
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, Trump is a WWE Hall of Famer, so let's just make sure we get that out there, okay? And, Trump does use the analogies, calling him Sleepy Joe, and then he's just Adam Shifty Shift, and all these other little, these little
you
names.
should call him Sloppy Joe too.
Well, I mean, you can call him whatever you want. I mean, it's just that's the way. See, Trump operates on that WWE talent. I mean, that WWE type skill. It does work, and so he's also what he does. He gets them riled up, but that's what he likes. He's got that tough New York skin, and the bottom line is, okay, Joe Biden in 2020. Is not going to do anything for you that he didn't do the last 40 years. Okay, and if you people out there want to change, find another candidate than Joe Biden to go up against Trump. If you don't, at least Donald Trump has the initiative, the drive, and the know-how to keep things moving forward, and he's got the American flag and the American people, and if you're an American, he's got you in his best interest.
And not to mention, too, Keith, on the world stage, they're going to eat Biden up alive. He doesn't have the stamina to travel or to deal with these world leaders in North Korea and Russia or any of these Middle East countries. He doesn't have the mental stamina to do it.
Well, again, politics should be like sports. You should be grooming your next candidate for the next level, whether it's at the mayor's level, the governor's level, the state's level, the federal level, and you want to work your way up the wheel. Trump didn't do that. He went from being a citizen to a politician, and the career politicians don't like that, okay, because the apple cart got disrupted. And so that's part of draining the swamp. You couldn't go in and just drain the swamp in 1 month. It's taken all these 4 years, and it's going to take another 4 years, and they're going to keep shooting on him just like they've been doing. It's a dirty deal.
Right. They tried with impeachment. That didn't work. They tried with something else. That didn't work. They're using COVID. It's not politics. We want everybody to be healthy, Republican and Democratic. But, he just started the job. He's not a career politician either. And anybody, whether it was Keith or myself in that same shoes that happened to win, it's like the lottery. Yes, he won, but don't knock the bird off the nest because he won. Don't be jealous because he's not a 40-year politician. It could have been a man, a woman, whatever. The man won, and he never paid his dues, but guess what? So what? He paid his dues in life, and he paid his dues in business.
Well, he actually did pay his dues because...
As far as politics, I'm talking.
Well, here's the bottom line. You don't have to pay a dues in politics because if you're a citizen of this country and you follow the laws and the day-to-day activities of this country, whether it's the stock market or you're following, current events all over the world, you start to realize, okay, he's more than qualified than any of these other people. A career politician is what we need to get away from. They haven't done the job either over the years. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, left or right, okay? If you don't have a candidate and we don't have a candidate to run this country correctly, it doesn't work. I mean, we just can't put Joe Biden in there. We just can't put anybody in there. We put Trump in there. I think honestly, this will take a lot of flack from people. I think he's done a great job. He cares about America. That's what's happened here. All these people, I want this change, I want that change. Okay, well, you can make some changes, and you're right in some of your requests. But the bottom line is, you're going about it the wrong way. He's trying to accommodate you, and you're resisting him, and you're not being as welcoming. And it's kind of a reverse thing.
And not to mention, it's not fair, whether you're Republican or Democratic, for two TV networks to blast you every day, like CNN and MSNBC. I do interviews. I've been doing interviews since I've been in college. I love Larry King. They got rid of him 10 years ago. Okay, I'm not a liberal. I get that. But don't have your agenda every day to defeat a president. That's just not right. In television, you're supposed to be one word: neutral, fair to all, polite to everybody, respectful. You're not there to take somebody's job away or say how bad they are. They're not talking about how bad their jobs are on TV, but for them to criticize elected officials daily with an agenda is not what TV is meant to be.
Greg said it earlier, we could agree to disagree here, and that's the bottom line. As Americans, that's what we do. But in the end of it all, we got to come together. And we got to come together in strength. Doesn't matter what color we are. Doesn't matter what city we come from. Doesn't matter what neighborhood we live in. If you're an American, we need to stand tall right now and let's get it on, because the world is watching us. And all these other groups that are not American, that want to tear down our history and tear down our world, we got to stand up to them right now. We got to let them know who the boss is, because they've had their few weeks and their moments. Time is up.
Right, of course. I'm not a big fan of statues myself, but if they're gonna come down, let's let them come down the way they're put up, politely.
But what you are a fan of, Greg Bicouvaris, and I know American I can speak history, for this,
yes,
is not only American history, but things done the correct way, through the correct procedures and the correct protocol. Going and destroying something because you don't believe in it is not the correct way of doing it. All they had to do, which I mean they or whoever is not happy with this, is gone to their elected officials and petition this thing, and you have to put the pressure that way. But going out and doing vandalism and tearing things up because you're in the 10% of people that don't want it, well, you haven't met us 90%ers yet.
Let's talk about this on the last note. Our good friend Bob Hall at Silver Eagle Coins and Collectibles.
Woo, Bob Hall, Daddy.
What a great guy he is. Talk about Bob and his coin shop.
I love Bob Hall out there. I've known Bob Hall since he was over in Norview with his family, Vince and Linda, and they were out there, Norview Coins and Stamps out there all this time. And then they moved over to Newtown Road, and they were whatever they were at, Norview Coins and Stamps then. And then they moved on to the Boulevard, Collector's Choice, and Bob's moved on to his own thing. And, he's out there in Lynn Haven, and Bob Hall, Silver Eagles, if you got gold, silver, collectibles, it doesn't matter what you got. If you're trying to make a few extra dollars, just like we were talking about with the recycling earlier, Bob's another form of recycling: gold, silver, platinum, collectibles, you name it. He's got the cash to buy it. Get down there today.
All right, Keith Krockett, thank you so much, my friend. We look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a good rest of the summer.
Thank you.
All right, Keith Krockett right there. Sports Scene will continue after these messages.
Sports Scene, Hampton Road's premier interview show with Greg Bicouvaris, each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11.
And you look at that, 4-4 at home, which is just average, 4-3-1 on the road. I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. They were not the same team after they beat the Packers, yet the Packers were a totally different team.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBick, and listen weekly as Greg interviews distinguished guests with excellent commentary and insight. Sports Scene, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
Highlights, gjbtv.com, hrsmhof.com, and of course, gjbtv.com for archive shows and audio and video. Click the YouTube link on gjbtv.com homepage. Question today presented by gjbtv.com to our esteemed producer and general manager, Colleen. Colleen, do you get a chance to sit down for a while when you first get home during weekday business hours, or is it nonstop for you for dinner and everything else?
It's usually pretty nonstop, but we find a time to cool down and relax a little bit with my daughter in the evening.
Very good. Sports Scene will continue after these messages.
Sports and Imports, located at 1322 Transylvania Avenue in Chesapeake. Sports and Imports specializes in all European models without the European price. ASE certified and Bosch certified. Don't waste time and money guessing what the problem is. Sports and Imports can pinpoint the problem and fix it the first time. Make an appointment today. Financing is available. Visit sportsandimports.net or call 545-9394. You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Now, back to Greg.
All right, welcome back to Sports Scene right here on WPMH every Saturday from 10 to 11 on 100.1 FM, 1010 AM, tunein.com by typing WPMH in the search bar. Greg Bicouvaris, along with our esteemed guests every month, George McClain. George, how are you, my friend?
Well, I'm doing well, Greg. How about yourself? I hope you're well and healthy.
Yep, very good, very good. We're into July now, July 4th, and all the activities that go with us. I guess the best thing is, there's really no fireworks. We've had a lot of other fireworks going on, and I guess the biggest thing when you walk out the door every morning before we start talking about guns and safety is you got to just be cognizant of your surroundings and where you are, and that's pretty much the theme of our show each month.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And so no part of that really changes. I mean, outside of, it seems like there's something happening, to talk about almost, every month that we do this. But that aside, just your everyday, life, if you're going to, be cognizant of your ways of protecting yourself and your family and your property, is the number one thing is being aware of your surroundings and what's going on. So, and that has to be a way of life that you're concerned with every single day. So, absent any other major happening, this is still got to be one of your main concerns, is to make sure that you, your family, your property is safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about it too. And, mentioned mass gatherings even before COVID, pre-COVID. Anytime you're in a mass gathering or a group, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You have to be really careful. Also, the good things that have come out of COVID too, as well as we're washing our hands more, we're using hand sanitizer. That's the one positive thing out of this. But anytime you're in a mass gathering, George, you know this, you've been there and done that. It's either good or bad, but you got to be careful.
Well, that's very true. And it comes with the realization that not everybody is careful. So that's why you have to be on your guard, because you're going to have some people who violate the rules of etiquette, if you will, in today's world. Being in a grocery store, make sure you have your mask on. Go ahead and maintain that social distance of 6 feet. And even when you're in line at the checkout counter, and you're still, I see it today, there's some people that will reach right across in front of you, and so you're breathing the same air if they happen to cough or whatever. It violates the intent of what social distancing is supposed to be accomplishing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it, I don't like it, but it's there. It's a proven way to decrease the chances of transmission of this disease, and that's what we're all should be geared up to do, is to make sure we don't get it, number one, and if you have the symptoms, stay home, don't go out spreading it to everybody else.
Talking to George McClain from the Marksman, you're exactly right, too, because each business has its own set of rules, kind of, George, that they got to follow what's the best, gut instinction, because each restaurant's different, each grocery store is different, every business has different hours. This has affected everything. Some banks don't let people go in, and we're supposedly in phase 3 here, and there's still a lot of rules. But you've seen other states that had a spike. You watch it on Fox News Channel or whatever channel you're watching, that a lot of these states that open up quickly and people were cooped up during the winter, they get back in those big groups, and all of a sudden all havoc starts again.
Yeah, well, I mean, what worked or what they thought, I guess, was going to work in several states, that it has not, and it's spiked up, and that's just because people let their guard down and they're not adhering to to the recommendations. So it's kind of a deal. You get what you pay for, even in this type of situation. If you don't adhere by the rules, it's going to bite you, and it has in several cases.
Talking to George McClain from the Marksman. George, lately I've been seeing a lot of deer. I've been seeing a lot of deer during the daytime. I've been seeing a lot of deer in residential neighborhoods, seeing them on the interstate. Is there a reason why we're seeing so many deer during the daytime? Because it used to be back in the day you'd only see them at night. Now they're everywhere.
Well, it really depends on food supply. That's going to bring them out, and water. There's a lot of times, although this has not been an abnormally dry summer as of yet, but when local water sources, I won't say dry up, but they may decrease to where the deer can't get into to where they usually do, or if food becomes an issue, they'll start ranging out further from their typical grounds that they would hang around. Other than that, they're home bodies to a point. So something is driving them out. So it's typically food and water, but it could also be construction. Projects that's started up, but a lot of that right now has decreased construction wise. I think to some degree. So it may be more of a food and water source issue at this point.
Talking to George McClain from the Marksman. Military Mondays, First Responder Fridays, additional 20% off your discounted range fee. George will talk about the range here in just a moment. To receive discount on Military Monday, you must be active, reserved, retired, or a veteran with a valid ID. To receive discount for First Responder Friday, you must be active, volunteer, or retired LEO, fire, or EMT with a valid ID as well. Phone number is 872-4130. And George, what about the hours going into July?
Well, we're still going to be, at 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Here for a while, and that's Monday through Saturday. We're trying to get geared up to reopen on Sundays from noon until 6, so we can have our concealed classes. But everything, we're at 50% capacity. The students in the class still have to sit 6 feet apart. So we're trying to get to where we can do that. Phase 3 of the governor's program goes into effect, I guess, July 1, and that really doesn't change anything for us. It changes for a lot of things for a lot of other folks, but not for the gun range. So we have to keep on going the way we're going. So right now we'll remain Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and closed on Sunday. We're going to try to get that reopened in the near future, but right now it's not.
Yep, it'll take a while to get back to it. Usually George is open daily, and of course he's anxious to open 7 days a week, but right now it is what it is. What about in stock right now, George, when they walk into the store? Do you guys do a lot of special orders for your clients? Do they ask for ordering, and how much notice do they need before they can get something, usually?
Well, you can call and get an appointment. And it doesn't have to be on the range, but typically, even if you don't have an appointment, come and knock on the door. And if we're below our occupancy limit, we can still get you in, and so you can go ahead and check out things. Just make sure you do your research. When you come in, that we can give you your pricing, and if you want to go ahead and do that, we can get your order. You can also go to our website, which is www.the, which is THE, then a hyphen, marksman.com. And you can go on there and see our online store, and you can order online the firearm or accessory, whatever it is that you want, will come into the store, and we'll give you a call. You can come in and pick it up from the store at that point. So you got a couple of different ways you can do it. Either do it online through our website, or just come into the lobby and place an order there.
Very good. And also, you can get a consultation if you need one too, George, with an advisor there from the Marksman. You have a trained staff that can help them pretty much any capacity they need, correct?
Yeah, we may not have, and in fact, we don't have everything that we can sell in stock. It would make sense for us to do that, but we can certainly work with you, answer whatever questions you have, do some A, B, C comparison between different types of firearms, and let you see the differences in how they're made, what they're made of, the weight of the firearm, and this type of thing, and help you make a decision versus trying to push you into something, which we don't do. I abhor salespeople who do that. So our goal is to help educate, and to where then help the customer make the best informed decision that they can make for what is right for them.
Always like to talk about different types of guns, maybe mix it up a little bit. George talked about magazines and a little bit last month. George, what are pump shotguns? Explain to us what are pump shotguns.
Pump shotgun is what a shotgun is. It shoots I won't say a projectile. It's several projectiles depending on the load, but these are like a number 6 would be like BB sized, round. It would be like pellets, and they go out and they scatter. It's a wider pattern that they will shoot. So what the pump is how you would cock that firearm, and that typically on the forend or on the bottom forward side or part of the firearm, there is a slide. You grab it with your hand. Is what you would have hold of, and you slide it in towards your body and then back out. Well, we call that a pump. It'd be like a pump action. And so that's what you're pumping. And when you do that, it ejects the shell that you just fired, or if there is no shell in there, it simply then will, as it loads, slides back forward, it loads a round into the chamber and ready to fire. So it's manually operated. Every time you shoot it, you have to pump it. You have to run the slide back, that ejects, and then as you slide it forward, that loads a new round in.
Very good. Talking to George McClain from the Marksman. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us right here on Sports Scene. Don't forget to go to YouTube, type in George McClain's name, type in Sports Scene to hear archive shows. And, of course, every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 right here on Sports Scene on AM and FM, WPMH. George, when you talk about education for people as far as starting out getting a gun, I know it sounds basic, but you don't normally just start driving a car when you're 12. You might ride a bicycle first, evolve into maybe a mini bike or a moped, then a car. Would you recommend a kid, a teenager, 12 or 13, 14, or maybe a young adult too as well, to practice with a BB gun in their own backyard first to get used to a firearm, or should they go right into a firearm? What is your recommendation?
Well, it really depends on where they live, and if shooting any kind of a firearm, BB or pellet or otherwise, would be safe. And if not, then you need to come into a place like our range that we have here, which you could shoot a BB gun or a pellet gun before you advance into a regular firearm. And I think we all, or at least I did growing up, we probably all shot BB guns first, not so much pellet guns, but certainly BB guns, and then into like a 22, very small caliber firearm. But before you do that, or probably in conjunction with that training, is learning the ground school part, not just the shooting part, but the safety, what the things and what not to do, and then what to do, learning how to shoot, but knowing the laws of the area. So it's not just a one-time thing. Anybody can put a bullet in a gun and pull a trigger, and that does not make you a marksman. That doesn't educate you at all, other than how to fire the gun. And shooting, as in most things, entails a heck of a lot more than just the actual act of pulling the trigger. So that's where the education does play a huge part. And the more you know, the less likely you are to stub your toe and get into trouble doing something. And as you've heard many times, I'm sure ignorance is no excuse. It does not get you out of your liability towards the law and that responsibility of making sure that you know what that is. So my best advice to anyone who doesn't have the background is to get with a good instructor, a good outfit that can teach you what you need to know. And then once you have what you need to know out of the way, then you can start working on things that you want to know. Do you want to go, with a particular type of handgun? Do you want to get into long gun shooting? And what type of action is good for you, whether it's a revolver or semi-automatic? You get into the shotguns, whether it's a pump or a semi-automatic or a bolt action. And if all those things sound Greek, those are the kind of things that you need to learn about as you progress through learning how to shoot.
Talking to George McClain, and of course, obey your authorities, obey and learn, evolve. If you have to start with a BB gun, evolve, but listen and learn and go to the marksman. You'll learn even more about gun and gun safety. And of course, folks, we all need to have protection. Police are your friends. They're not your enemies. They don't go around shooting people. They have had issues like everybody else has. But for the most part, George, police are law-abiding citizens. Just like in any job or any place, there are bad seeds everywhere.
Well, that's exactly right. And I've said that forever. I don't care if you're talking about police officers, if you're talking about airline pilots, if you're talking about doctors, if you're talking about bankers, if you're talking about priests. You've got most of those, by far the vast majority of every one of those I just mentioned, and thousands of those I did not mention, are all great folks, and they got one goal in mind, and that is to do the best job that they can. But in every profession, you've got a few bad seeds, a few bad apples, and they're the ones that you read about, you hear about. They're the ones that cause all this commotion, and there's really no excuse for it. And it makes everybody else in that profession look bad, and that's just the wrong attitude to have with it.
All right, the phone number is 872-4130, open Monday through Saturday for the time being. Like the Marksman on Facebook. George, leave us with a good note.
Well, everyone just be safe. Be safe and then be healthy. Follow the organization's protocol, whatever organization that is. To maintain your distance from other people. Wear your mask. That's probably the single biggest thing that you can do to prevent getting sick, as long as this bug is floating around. But be cognizant of what's happening around you. Keep yourself safe. Keep your family safe. Keep your property safe. And that way you'll be able to hear us again next month.
Exactly. And especially during the summertime, you got to be careful no matter what time of the year it is. George, always great to hear your voice. Have a great July. We look forward to talking to you in August.
All right, Greg, you take care and be safe, and we'll see you next month.
Very good. George McClain right there from the Marksman. He's an owner and a great person. Phone number is 872-4130. Sports Scene will continue after these messages.
What tees you off? Presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
All right, what teased me off? People using COVID to be inaccessible, whether by phone or in person, literally hiding behind walls. Colleen, you've seen it. A lot of people are not accessible. Banks are putting up walls or closing doors. The whole thing has been erratic because we're in phase 3 basically now, but a lot of businesses are still not into phase 2 or phase 3.
Yeah, it's difficult to find out what's open and what's not.
Very good. Glasses that have water in the bottom, you know how it is. You put them on your table and they start sweating and you're wondering, nothing's leaking, but why do they sweat?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that, especially the summertime.
There's nothing worse than when you have a nice refrigerator and you have a freezer, but it's not making ice cubes properly.
Yeah, and especially now, you need those ice cubes.
Absolutely. When a maid says 2 hours, it ends up being 3 hours, like cleaning somebody's house.
Oh, I would love to have a maid to clean my house.
I do, but it's erratic, that's for sure. All right, speaking of erratic store hours each week from business to business. I guess they're learning on the fly, too, because they really don't know when to be open, when to be closed. But this whole thing, as you know, has caused a lot of havoc.
Yeah, figuring out, you're used to pulling through a drive-through at 10 o'clock at night or something, and they close 2 hours earlier.
And grocery stores and big box stores, too. Absolutely right. When somebody calls and they don't identify themselves when they call, they're like, hey, Greg, how are you? And you're like, oh, my goodness, who is this?
You have to rack your brain to figure out.
And then you really don't know until you Google it. I love the police officers. They do a great job. So do the firemen, too, and all of our great essential workers. But disbanding any type of protection is never good, in my opinion.
No, we need the help for sure.
Absolutely. All right, this is something we've all seen when we go to a business. They have these signs plastered very almost like what a kid can do with a coloring book all over their doors saying, go here, go there, business hours, wear a mask. I mean, I get it, but all we need is just one sign on the front door. You don't need them on every single door and window.
They're making sure you can read it all and get all the information you need.
And the last one, we can all relate to this. They find a way, bugs that sneak into the house, Colleen.
Oh, bugs. That's it. That's all I can say. Bugs.
Bugs, yep. Doesn't matter which kind. All right, Sports Scene will continue. That is what tees me off.
Sports Scene, Hampton Road's premier interview show with Greg Bicouvaris, each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11.
And you look at that, 4-4 at home, which is just average, 4-3-1 on the road. I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. They were not the same team after they beat the Packers, yet the Packers were a totally different team.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBick and listen weekly as Greg interviews distinguished guests with excellent commentary and insight. Sports Scene, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM.
The Newport News Greek Festival will take place August 28th through August 30th on the grounds of Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church. The entire event will be a drive-through edition, and we appreciate your continued support. Eat, drink, and celebrate authentic Greek culture on the peninsula. Celebrating a taste of Greece in Newport News with our drive-through. For more, log on to newportnewsgreekfestival.org. Opa!
Thank you for listening to Sports Scene every Saturday morning right here on WPMH, AM and FM. For more, log on to gjbtv.com. I want to thank our guest today, Keith Krockett, as well as George McClain. Hope everybody's having a great summer, a great July. We look forward to talking to you again in August. For Colleen, I'm Greg Bicouvaris. We'll talk to you soon. On the next edition of Sports Scene, we're going to talk to Catherine Barrett, a veteran who used to work at Channel 13, about health, about tennis, and about broadcasting. On the next edition of Sports Scene.
Sports Scene, Hampton Road's premier interview show with Greg Bicouvaris, each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11.
And you look at that, 4-4 at home, which is just average, 4-3-1 on the road. I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. They were not the same team after they beat the Packers, yet the Packers were a totally different team.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBick and listen weekly as Greg interviews distinguished guests with excellent commentary and insight. Sports Scene, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM.
The Newport News Greek Festival will take place August 28th through August 30th on the grounds of Saints Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church. The entire event will be a drive-through edition, and we appreciate your continued support. Eat, drink, and celebrate authentic Greek culture on the peninsula. Celebrating a taste of Greece in Newport News with our drive-through. For more, log on to newportnewsgreekfestival.org. Opa!
I want to thank Brian Hogg and the James River Country Club in Newport News for hosting my mother's invitational tennis tournament, the 20th annual. Give them a call at 595-3327. Excellent tennis courts, swimming pool, golf course. Brian Hogg and Company, great restaurants right there. It's private, but it's great. James River Country Club in Newport News, a legacy for decades.
Sports and Imports, located at 1322 Transylvania Avenue in Chesapeake. Sports and Imports specializes in all European models without the European price. ASE certified and Bosch certified. Don't waste time and money guessing what the problem is. Sports and Imports can pinpoint the problem and fix it the first time. Make an appointment today. Financing is available. Visit sportsandimports.net or call 545-9394.
Is overwhelming debt weighing you down? How would you like to be debt-free and have good credit faster than you could ever imagine? You can, and I can show you how to make that happen. Hi, I'm Steve Taylor. I'm president of the Alliance Legal Group, and we've been eliminating debt and giving people a fresh start through bankruptcy for more than 25 years. Let me show you how to get control of your life, the life that you've always dreamed of. Bankruptcy is one of the best ways to avoid foreclosure, repossessions, discharge most debts, and give you the peace of mind you need right now. Rebuilding your credit can be easier than you ever thought possible. Join TL and myself as we discuss biblical solutions for financial debt every Tuesday at 11 a.m. on the Midday Merger. Find out the secrets that they don't want you to know. It's a question and answer format, so bring your questions and Lord willing, I will answer them for you. 11 a.m. every Tuesday with TL on the Midday Merger. And if you want to contact us before then, contact us at debtfreeva.com or visit the Alliance Legal Group on Facebook. On Facebook. On Facebook. On Facebook. On Facebook. On Facebook. On Facebook.